to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking cerebral. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good evening, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the Dolphins Talk Matchup Show here at DolphinsTalk.com. I'm your host, Mike Oliva, joined as I am each and every Thursday by Robert Burns. Robert, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm okay. I'm over Sunday at this point. I'm so glad we do these on
Monday.
Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, too. Whatever.
It doesn't matter what day it is.
It doesn't matter what day it is at this point. A loss is a loss, regardless. But I'm so glad we do these on Thursday. And I will say, for the viewers that tune in and watch us live as we stream this, every week I say to myself, I feel like such an old person because my headphones have this cord hanging from them because they plug into my microphone for easy access. Mike has these nice over-the-ear wireless Bose, and I've got these that came with my iPhone back in like 2010. And I feel like such an old person every time. I'm surprised no one's called me out on it. Please do. On Twitter at Robert Burns TV. Call me out because that's what's important right now for Miami Dolphins fans. Making sure our headphones are wireless, not the fact that we can gain more than 100 yards through the air.
Yeah, your Bold and Bull took another big hit this week. You have dug yourself such a hole.
Here's my thing.
It's going to be tough to come out of.
For listeners that listened last week, I am going to petition the court for the Tyreek Hill to have 6 catches because he caught more passes out of the backfield that were technically runs that I think should count as receptions. So I should get that one.
When we get to that part of the show, we will discuss and hold a mini episode of the People's Court. But before we get to that, a word from the sponsor of today's show.
The DolphinsTalk.com podcast network is sponsored by Caneswear. Caneswear is the place to go for officially licensed apparel for the Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, the Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, and all of the professional and college teams in South Florida. Looking for the latest jersey, a birthday gift, or the newest hat to hit the market of your favorite South Florida team? Check out Caneswear for their overwhelming selection of sports apparel. Located at 2655 South University Drive, Davie, Florida, Caneswear has it all. Not in South Florida? No worries. Visit Caneswear.com to shop their inventory from the comfort of your home, and they'll ship it to you. International fans, too. Caneswear.com is the spot that Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com.
All right. Thank you to Caneswear, as always. So, Miami lost to the Titans Monday night. Not much to talk about. They were terrible on offense. Their coaching was terrible, and it was just an utter train wreck. And they are now 1-3 on the season. They've already played 3 home games. They dug themselves quite the hole to crawl out of. But we have a lot of news to go over, and then, yes, we will preview this week's game. The big news from the week is Jaylen Phillips, who injured his knee on Monday night, is now out for the season. Same leg that he ruptured his Achilles on. It's an ACL. So now, after rehabbing from an Achilles injury, he has to now rehab from an ACL on the same leg. That is not a good prognosis for his long-term future in the NFL. We wish him a speedy recovery and all the best, but for a guy who's looking to cash in on a big payday here in the next year, Miami has to proceed with extreme caution. I know it's bad luck. No, I'm not saying it's his fault, but before you hand him over a mega deal, I think the Dolphins have to make sure he rehabs from this. He plays however many games he plays next year, and he's 100% before they give him a penny. And it's unfortunate. It's bad luck. It's bad timing for him, but that's just the cold, hard reality of the NFL.
Yeah, and it's not his fault. It's Jordan Poyer's fault for going in head first. If you watch the video on social media, and again, you can't control that. I'm being I'm joking at that one, but I think that you're right. I don't think anyone's going to give him the contract that he probably could have gotten playing a full season. Next year might be one of those bet on yourself type years where you have a 1-year deal, whether it's in Miami.
He's on the 5th-year option next year. He's under contract.
Is next year? I thought this was the 5th year
option. No.
Okay.
Next year's a 5th-year option. He's
That's
under
right. He's
contract.
the year after Tua.
But he was probably hoping this offseason.
He was hoping to get it this offseason.
Deal.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen now.
Yeah. So next year is going to be the bet on himself year because he's probably not going to get that extension in the offseason. And maybe that's what he's going to have. The thing is, for someone who's had a leg injury, I've had a broken ankle. You do lend favoritism to the other side. And so you are more susceptible to injuries in that particular leg because you're overcompensating somewhere. And so in that particular case, it's just an unlucky hit that happened to be on that leg. But I think that throughout that entire leg of his, something wasn't completely the way it was 3 years ago. And it's not supposed to be because no matter what you're going to do as you're coming off of it. But, for him, you want to see him be able to come back. You know what he can do. He was playing at Pro Bowl level coming off of an Achilles injury that took him out of all last year that he came back from almost Aaron Rodgers-like in timeline. So you want to see him come back. You want to see him play well. You want to see him play well for Miami. But you're right. I think that contract extension ain't going to happen this offseason. And if Miami does, then Chris Grier should go immediately because we all know the team is already injury prone from every level. You can't give another injury prone guy a long-term extension while he's injured. Doesn't work that way. So I don't expect it.
Yeah, and Chris Grier's got his own problems right now. So
he's got bigger fish.
I don't even know if that's going to be his call when the time comes to it. So to replace him, the Dolphins today signed Tyus Bowser off Seattle's practice squad. But from 2017 to 2023, he was a member of the Baltimore Ravens, who was with the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, Anthony Weaver. So he has some familiarity with Anthony Weaver. He is a complicated player in that, like many Miami players, when healthy, very, very good. He has 19 and a half career sacks between 2017 and 2023. The problem with him is he missed 2022 with a ruptured Achilles tendon. Then he came back in 2023. He had a knee injury. Does this sound familiar, folks? So Tyus Bowser, the past few years, hasn't played much football because of injuries. But when he was healthy, those early years, he was a very good player. But he was on Seattle's practice squad, so Miami poached him. And I know they thought about signing him too when Shaq Barrett retired. So he's kind of been on the radar since then, probably late July, mid-July, whenever that was. So Tyus Bowser is now on the Miami Dolphins roster and will be suited up and ready to go this weekend. In other news, Kendall Fuller and Teron Armstead, who are in the concussion protocol, have been full participants in practice today on Thursday. So all signs point to them suiting up and playing this weekend versus the Patriots, unless, of course, there is some sort of a setback. Also, in other promising news, Cam Smith and Odell Beckham, who have been on PUP, but they returned to practice Wednesday to have their 21-day window opened up to return, also have been full participants at practice. Now, for Miami to take them off PUP and put them on the active roster, they have to, like Saturday, they would have to release 2 players, which shouldn't be tough. I'm sure they got guys to cut. Keep an eye on that because they don't have to bring them back this week, and then you got a bye next week. They could save one or both after the bye, but we'll see what they do. Cam Smith and Odell Beckham are practicing, so there's 4 guys. You could possibly see 4 new faces. Well, not new faces, but Kendall Fuller and Armstead back, and Cam Smith and Odell Beckham on the field this weekend for Miami. And when it comes to Jordan Poyer, Raheem Mostert, and David Long, right now it's iffy. They've been limited in practice or not there. So we'll probably find out more Friday or Saturday after most of you are listening to this about their status. And it was announced earlier the week that Tyler Huntley will, yes, again, start at quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Robert, what are your thoughts on Tyler Huntley?
I mean, he played the way that I would and should have expected a quarterback who has been with a team that has a complicated offense could play on a week's notice, essentially. he flew in the first week, didn't get a whole lot in. He was on the sidelines for Seattle and then had 1 week, maybe the majority of that, knowing he was the starter internally. So he played about as well as I thought he would. I think that you could see some flashes of, I'm just going to let it rip and I'm going to throw the balls, at the right timing. And then some other hesitant times where he held on to the ball. Not because he ran. He had to run after a certain point. We both talked about taking the over on his rushing yards. There's a certain point where you have to run, but where he was hesitant, I fully don't grasp the playbook type hesitancy. I want to make sure this receiver is going to that spot. So that's what happened. It's what I should have expected. I hoped for more, but that's what you got.
Yep.
Wasn't good either way.
No, it wasn't good. And the other big news story, which we'll talk about before we get to the matchup between the Patriots and the Dolphins, which I know has everyone sitting at the edge of their seat riveted for this offensive juggernaut we're about to sit through on Sunday. The news broke late Wednesday evening from Bloomberg, which is a business channel site publication. If for those who don't, run in those types of circles or sort of follow that stuff, that Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross is going to sell 13% of the Miami Dolphins, Hard Rock Stadium, and the F1 racetrack. Hopefully by the end of the year, per the report. He's going to sell 10% to a private equity firm because per NFL rule, which they just passed in the past 6 months or year, now NFL teams and NFL owners can sell up to 10%, but no more than 10% to private equity firms. So they're going to, so right now, per the report, 10% will be sold to Ares Management, which is a private equity firm. And then Mr. Ross is going to sell 3% of his own to Joseph Tsai, who owns the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Liberty of the WNBA. And I got a ton of questions on this when the news kind of broke this morning, and I put out an article, and I was getting bombarded with questions. So I want to clear some of this up. Number one, this has not happened yet. He is hoping to have the league approve all this at the December NFL owners meetings. Per the article in Bloomberg, nothing has been finalized yet, but each side are very close, and they are working to sort of at least come to a final agreement on all the fine print and all of the details. Stephen Ross is still the owner of the Dolphins. He will own 87%. Stephen Ross will make each and every one of the decisions, not Joseph Tsai. People thought Joseph Tsai's got 3%. Joseph Tsai has this in his portfolio. He's putting up a few $100 million to hopefully get a whole bunch more in return because it's an NFL team, which is like owning your private ATM. That's all this is. Now, if there's a point, and one more thing, per the article, sources close to Mr. Ross said he wants to keep the team in his family. He's an older man, and I'm not saying he's going to drop dead tomorrow, but he's an older man in his 80s, and the plan as of now is to give the team, when the time is right, maybe when he's alive or not, to his daughter, Jennifer Ross. Now, if many years down the road, Jennifer Ross wants to sell the team, could Joseph Tsai be a potential next owner? Yes. He would probably have to sell the Nets, probably have to sell the Liberty. I don't think you can own both anymore. I think there's rules against that, or he'd have to diversify himself down to a percentage where he's not, that's a long ways away. So I know a lot of fans of the Dolphins who are frustrated and angry with how the season's gone, and who are frustrated and angry how the Stephen Ross era has gone since he took over, are, got excited that he's gone. He ain't gone. He owns 87%. He's making all the calls. This is essentially a money grab for Mr. Ross because private equity, that means moolah, lots of moolah. So by selling them 10%, he gets a whole lot of moolah in his pocket, and selling off 3% to Joseph Tsai. It's 3%, folks. It's not that big a deal. Right. So Ares Management, and here's the other thing, which I find interesting per this NFL rule. I'll say one thing about Roger Goodell and the NFL owners. They look out for each other because per this rule, private equity firms, so Ares Management is buying 10% into the Miami Dolphins. They can buy 10% and 5 other NFL teams if they want. So they can be 10% owners in up to 6 teams at the same time.
They could own 10% of every team in the AFC East. Won't get approved.
Yes.
But they could own 10% plus the Colts, whatever.
Exactly. So this private equity story, you're going to start hearing more of it. This is kind of like the first deal, although it's not approved yet. But I know the Chargers are in talks and they're close. And so are the Philadelphia Eagles. They're in talks and they're close. And I think which caught a lot of people by surprise is Ken Griffin, who's a big money hedge fund owner, private equity guy, for the past 2 years has made offers to buy the whole lock, stock, and barrel. Hard Rock Stadium, the Dolphins, F1 racetrack. And he's been shot down a few times. And a lot of people thought, even with the 10%, or maybe what Joseph Tsai's done to buy 3, Ken Griffin is the guy, which is why that 3% to Joseph Tsai, don't read too much into that, because if many years down the road this team does go for sale, Ken Griffin wants this team bad. And if you don't know who Ken Griffin is, we've done a few articles. I've done a few articles about him on the site, and you can find him on our site. He is one of the richest people on planet Earth. He is from Florida, and he wants to own an NFL team, specifically in Florida, i.e. the Miami Dolphins, a team he rooted for growing up really, really bad. So that's why people saw 3%. This guy owns the Nets. They stink. Don't read. It's 3%. So that's the big story here for Mr. Ross, selling off up to 13% by the end of the year, probably. Again, private equity, they don't care who the GM is. They don't care who the coach. They just want a return on their investment. And Joseph Tsai at 3% is down there with the Williams sisters and everyone else who owns a small little percent. It doesn't mean diddly poo.
Yeah.
Any thoughts there?
And Joseph Tsai, obviously you mentioned, the Nets and the Liberty. Neither one have won
the Islanders too. Used to own the Islanders way back in the day.
But he has also proven in watching basketball, if he has any say or influence throughout discussions as they make any decisions, he has proven himself to be willing to pay money for high-profile players or for roster updates. Remember the Brooklyn Nets had Kevin Durant, they had Kyrie Irving, they had almost anybody you want to think of that is now on a different team. Yeah. They're all on different teams now. So if that is any sort of, hey, just throwing my hat in the ring here on a decision, let's pay the guy, I feel like that would be his take. The other thought I have is he is selling 10%, and if this is accurate, he's selling 10% to private equity, 3% to Joseph Tsai. That is 13%. Why does number 13, Miami Dolphins fans, ring a bell? Would the owner of the Miami Dolphins sell the amount in stock of the greatest Miami Dolphin ever? Anybody?
Yeah,
it's all about money. It's all about money at this point. That's the only slap in the face. It's not 12%. He picks Dan Marino's number, and that would be the 13. Number that we end up selling at that point. Bruce Beal used to be the successor plan, and now
he got thrown to the curb quick.
He got thrown to the curb real quick.
League didn't like him with the whole Tom Brady tampering thing.
Man, nope, that dropped real fast. So now it's the daughter, and we have somebody on YouTube watching. Saying maybe the daughter will be better than Stephen Ross can.
Probably will.
Let's be honest. Worse. Stephen Ross is one of the best owners in the National Football League. There's nothing that he won't do to win. He doesn't make the roster decisions. He has some influence on it, but he doesn't make the play calls. He doesn't sit there and he's not playing the game. He is spending the money. You tell me what it takes to spend to win a championship. I'm 82 freaking years old. Before I die, I want to hold this damn trophy, and he spent it. How many Super Bowls do we need in South Florida? I live in New York, but how many Super Bowls do we need in South Florida? Okay, I'll put money into the stadium to get Super Bowls into South Florida. I think he's been a hell of an owner. And I understand why he's doing this, and I totally get that. But the one person I think in the NFL who will never do this, Jerry Jones and Dallas Cowboys, because Jerry Jones has the biggest ego in the NFL, and he wants 100% control of everything to do. I don't care who else. It's going to be him until he dies, and then his son hands it. Jerry Jones will never do that. That's the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, but I do think you're going to see a lot of teams head down this road. Ross is just the first. Like we said, we have the Chargers, we have the Eagles. They're talking. I even think maybe the Bills was like another team that started this process, because there's so much money in these teams and there's so much money in private equity 10% is nothing. If you still own 90%, like, okay, I'm still
Right.
running the
You're
show.
still the
I'm still calling the
majority, the
shots.
high
And you're going to
majority.
hand me money? And you're going to hand me money? There's talk of private equity purchasing the entire Big 12 conference and just sort of running that, which in the world of where we are with NIL and stuff is, it would, shake that sport, all the sports in college down to its core. So this is going to be, I know for on the field stuff, this doesn't matter, but it does sort of, you got to learn, you have to understand the business side of things, because the business side runs the on the field side. Some of these owners are cheap. They're like Cincinnati, like they're dirt cheap.
Notorious for being cheap.
If you have a cheap owner, if you have ownership who's like rich, obviously, but not that rich, that will trickle down to the team and what you see on the field. So the same thing here in Miami. Money's not an issue in Miami. Miami has an issue of making smart decisions. Everyone says, "Oh, the team's cursed. It's on the land. It's on the land there from the Indians or whatever the hell it is." No, they just have a 25-year history of making idiotic decisions and hiring the wrong people. The one flaw Ross has, yes, endless money. Tell me what you need. Blank checks. The one, he listens to the wrong people for too long. Jeff Ireland, Mike Tannenbaum, now Chris Grier, and he's got to get someone with a clue to run that side of the house, and then his money would really be maximized with the product on the field. But good luck there. All right, we got Dolphins Patriots 1 o'clock on Fox. The game that's so bad, Fox pulled Tom Brady off the broadcast. Look,
literally 85 people.
Look, Fox has one Patriots game this year. They're going to send Tom there. They've been talking about it all offseason because you want Tom in the booth. They put the camera on him. All the fans clap. Yay, Tom's back in Foxborough. This game is so bad. They said, Tom, we'll get you next year back to Foxborough. It ain't happening this week.
They pulled the broadcast from everywhere other than South Florida and just Boston. That's pretty much it if you look at the broadcast map.
Who wants to see it? Okay. Quarterback. This is a matchup up there with Unitas and Bradshaw. It's up there with Montana and Sims. It's up there with Marino and Elway. And we got Jacoby Brissett and Tyler Huntley, who has the edge.
When you say it like that. So I actually had trouble with this. I'm trying to figure it out. Who I would rather have on my team at this time. Do I want a Tyler Huntley, who is in his third full week on the Miami Dolphins, in the second week practicing as the starter, or do I want Jacoby Brissett, who's been around for 58 years in the National Football League and also played for the Miami Dolphins? Don't forget that, guys. Back up there. So I lean towards draw, but I lean towards experience in Jacoby Brissett. Although when we get to wide receivers, I'd probably go back to draw.
Yeah, I'd probably go Jacoby Brissett because he's been in that offense longer, and I have more faith in him. Leading a touchdown drive or two. Running backs, Raheem Mostert might be back. Might. Achane didn't do much last week. Jaylen Wright looked pretty good since he's played. For the Patriots, you're looking at Ramondre Stevenson, who's fumbled 4 weeks in a row. How do you know that? How do I know that? Because I have him on my fantasy team. And Antonio Gibson. So I'd probably go edge Miami here.
I'm actually going to counter that. I'm going edge New England. Yeah, I'm going edge New England. Ramondre Stevenson, he's a hard runner. And Gibson, the backup there, very, very shifty. Those two have combined for a better rushing attack than what Miami has seen the past 3 weeks. And we talked about this last year, Mike. Devon Achane, he can't do it all himself. And I'm trying to pull up his rushing stats again. Last week, 10 for 15. Week before that, 11 for 30. Against Buffalo, 22 for 96. Week before that, 10 for 24. So as Devon Achane goes as your starting running back and your offensive line sucks right now, so you're not getting any holes, I lean towards the team that actually commits to the run and continues to do it. You fumble the ball, sure, I get that. But hell, you're going to lose anyway. Keep running the damn ball. Give it to your playmakers. And those are their playmakers. So I lean towards New England having the better running ground game in this particular matchup. Especially not knowing Mostert's status. We don't know. If I knew Mostert was playing and I know I have a healthy offensive line with Armstead back and everybody, maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, I will say in this horrible season that we are now watching for the Dolphins, in limited times, Jaylen Wright's looked pretty good. He's got
Sure.
a future here. Again, it's very limited. I know there hasn't been a big play where you go, wow, but just, he is tough to bring down. He always makes a little something out of nothing. It seems like if this team was competent, if it had a competent passing game, if it had a halfway decent offensive line, I think we'd probably see more. But just from trying to sort through all the crap, you can see there's something there with him. So that's one of the few bright spots we've had here in the first month.
Yeah, and
Offensive
Jaylen Wright
line-
last week, just so everyone knows, Jaylen Wright last week against Tennessee, 9 carries, 32 yards. So he doubled the production of Devon Achane on the same amount of carries with the same offensive line. But they don't run the ball enough for me to believe that they're going to keep doing it.
True. Yeah, that I agree with. Offensive line, no battle champions here for the Patriots. Their center, David Andrews, is out.
Yeah.
He's on IR, so that's a blow to them. Miami, the fact that nobody's hurt is probably a blow to them.
The fact that their opening day lineup is out there right now doesn't bode well for their confidence level.
So I don't know who you got here with the edge.
I you know what? And Miami's offensive line, honestly, I'm going to go draw. Despite the fact that New England's offensive line is just ripped apart, they have 3 starters that are questionable or worse for this week going in, and one is their all-star center David Andrews, like you mentioned. So Miami, while they have their full complement of starters, they haven't been playing that well. They haven't been pass blocking well. They sure as hell haven't been run blocking well. So oddly enough, I'm going to say this, Mike, oddly enough, last week, who graded out the best on the entire Miami Dolphins team? I know you hate the grades, but who graded out best on the entire Miami Dolphins team was Liam freaking Eichenberg.
Only had but
it's a D minus. He's at a 65 or something like that. So Liam Eichenberg was the number one, had the best week for the Dolphins last week, but that doesn't help anyway. And so I lean towards draw with the offensive lines.
Yeah. Other line, the front 7, again, we don't know about long.
You're skipping wide receivers, huh? You just know the
answer.
I did.
I skipped wide receivers.
It's an easy answer. It's an easy
answer. Even though Waddle has dropped a bunch and Hill's dropped a bunch, they still get the edge because I dare any fan to name 2 wide receivers on the Patriots. And, without using your phone or a computer. Good luck.
It's an easy one. It is Miami, and especially if Odell Beckham even plays 5 snaps. Even if he gets out there for any reason at all, and I think he actually might. I think he's been healthy for a while. Just being on the injured list, you can't really practice with the team until he shows up. He's got the playbook down. He has caught passes from Tyler Huntley in Baltimore. I think he even said that his first catch in Baltimore for a touchdown was from Tyler Huntley. So there's familiarity there. I think last week also what you saw was Huntley doesn't know as well as Tua how to throw to these receivers, guys. He's trying to throw to Tyreek and he lofts one up there thinking he's got to get more air under it. That didn't work. He had another one where he actually overthrew Tyreek Hill. So that didn't work. So he's still getting the hang of it. The one wide receiver he has some rapport with is Odell Beckham. If he gets out there for 5 snaps, makes him feel better. It's just like having your whoopee. It's fine. In this offense where you don't know what the heck some of these plays are, that might be the thing that he has going for him. Miami has the clear edge at wide receiver.
Yeah, I would agree there as well. Front 7 on defense, again, Long, we don't know the status of him.
Yeah.
The Patriots, for the most part, are healthy. If you look at the numbers, Miami ranks out very high on this side of the ball on defense. The Patriots actually rank out low, but the Patriots have had some games where they've shut down the opponents. I know not in recent weeks per se, but this is another tough one here. Miami's been okay on defense.
Yeah.
And the Patriots are okay overall, I would say, on defense. It's no battle of champions.
Considering we're just talking front 7 on this one, if Long plays, I give the edge to Miami. Now, remember, for people who are listening to the podcast or watching us live, New England no longer has Matthew Judon, traded away. So there's a big gap for them. However, Miami and Benito Jones, Mike, look like you can have some leverage on Benito Jones at this point and push him around the way that he was mauled last week.
Stinks.
And we just talked about how I think the better rushing tandem is with New England. So what's that recipe say? I'm going to probably run the ball. Now, if you get David Long back, he fixes a lot of things. He's able to recognize a lot. He's able to fix a lot with that. So if Long is back, I lean to Miami. If he's not, and we're looking at the same 7 that we saw the past week and a half, I'd probably say draw. You know, New England's they're not bad, but they're okay. And Miami's defense is not bad, but it's okay. Secondary, different story. Front seven, including linebackers, I'd probably go draw without long.
Yeah, let's go to secondary. So you got Miami will probably get back Kendall Fuller. They might have Cam Smith. They might not have Jordan Poyer, which is an addition by subtraction because Jordan Poyer has been awful this year. Now, I don't believe in PFF, so I don't go by any of those numbers. But PFF, through 1 month of games, released all the rankings for the safeties. And if you're a Dolphins fan, this makes you sick to your stomach. I think the third highest rated safety was Brandon Jones, now with the Broncos, former Dolphin. I think the fifth highest rated safety was Deshaun Elliott, was with the Dolphins. You know who the second worst safety in the entire NFL was per PFF? Jordan Poyer. And if you watched even 2 minutes of the Jacksonville game, 2 minutes of the Bills game, 2 minutes of the Seattle game, and 2 minutes Monday night, Jordan, and I know some fans, watch the ball, don't watch the whole field, he's been so stinking bad that if he's hurt and they have to start Marcus May, it's an upgrade for the Dolphins. So don't want to wish injury on anybody, but if it gets Marcus May on the field because he can't play this week, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for the Dolphins.
And John on Facebook agrees with you. His comment, Jordan is trash. And I don't think any of us really are sitting here.
He isn't always. He's just old. This is what happens when you sign a 33-year-old. He's old. Right. He can't play anymore.
And his wife would rather be in Buffalo than Miami. So if you know the tweets, you know what's going on there. But okay, so secondary, I think that getting Marcus May in there, getting him some playing time, I think that's going to be a good thing. We saw some of him last week. I think outside of that, Miami is back to being healthy in the secondary, getting Fuller back. Now, New England, not necessarily the same story. They have some playmakers, Kyle Duggar, safety Jabril Peppers, but they both missed practice and they're listed questionable right now.
Christian Gonzalez is really good too. Yeah.
Well, yeah. On top of New England has the 28th ranked passing defense. So if we're talking about secondary, there's only 32 teams in the National Football League. So that's really bad if you know math. And so I got to go with definitely Miami secondary, which I think actually passing defense wise, they're like top 5 in the National Football. You're just going to run all over Miami. That's the problem. They get down so much, you don't have to pass anymore.
Yeah, I had the numbers last night. Let me call it up real quick. It's right here. On defense, total defense, Miami 6th, New England 24th. Pass defense, Miami 5th, New England 28th. Rush defense, 16th for Miami, 9th. Scoring defense, Miami 26th, New England 18th. So, yeah, the passing defense for Miami has been very good. Even on the rush defense, it'd be 16th. They've been okay on defense. Weaver's done a nice enough job. It's just when the team just can't score, you can't expect them to just win games. They're like a team that's good enough on that side of the ball, but they need the offense to really carry the team. That's what we haven't seen this year. Yeah. Special teams. Where are we on special teams this week?
I think so. There's a guy on YouTube right now, and I feel really good shouting out everybody who's watching and commenting.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's a guy on YouTube right now who says I'm throwing back some coffee and rum. And you see my cheeks getting a little rosy here. I might need a little bit of something to pick any one of these special teams to be a playmaker in this game. I think they're both very mediocre. And I finally saw a 20-yard return, I think, from Braxton Berrios.
Yeah.
About time he got me more than 5. I still go draw. I don't think either one of these special teams making big plays to really set the outcome of this game outside of field goals, which you might need.
Yeah, here's what I'll say about the game against the Titans. Jake Bailey was fine. He was fine.
He's always fine. Yeah, he's been fine all year.
Jason Sanders was fine. But the part that was really disconcerting is that entire unit didn't know the rules. You got Duke Riley touching a ball. It made no sense when he was trying to do. Yeah. Then at the end of the game, they're trying this onside kick after a safety, and they didn't know the rules. Yeah. And there was another time in the first half where they tried something. They didn't know the rules. It's like, look, if you can't play because they just don't have the talent on that unit, it's fine. It stinks, but okay. But when the guys there just don't know the rules, it's like, what do you do all summer? And they just changed all the rules. So you should have been buried with your head in the head in that rule book to know them. it's like, oh my God, okay, whatever. But
I didn't bring it
that
up
was the
because
part
it didn't
that-
hurt Miami, the
It
Duke
didn't
Riley
hurt, but
thing. So
It
all's
will hurt them
forgiven didn't
eventually if you
count.
don't know the rules.
Yeah, well, I think that this week they're getting hammered because there were a lot of
You
questions
think?
to Danny Crossman, and I even said Danny Crossman should be fired right after Duke Riley kind of touched the ball.
Well,
But
someone's
again,
gonna-
it didn't win you, didn't lose you. You're just kind of there.
It's soul crushing. That's what it is.
It is. It's just like, you know what?
Everything else, it's like, and this as well. That's what it is.
Throw it in there. Why not?
Okay. Coaching. We have a rookie coach with the Patriots, and we have a coach for the Dolphins who is regressing so fast he's going to look like a rookie coach here in about a month. I can't give Miami the edge, not with Mike McDaniel this year.
So we've got Mike McDaniel, and we've got a former player, Gerard Mayo, as the head coach, coaching his fifth game. His fifth game. Now, if you've listened to this show for the past year and change, you've known that I usually will give, I kind of gave it away just now, I will usually give the edge towards the more experienced coach, with Mike McDaniel winning, double-digit games past couple of years, getting the playoffs in 3 seasons. However, I think that Gerard Mayo getting a win against Cincinnati on week 1 with this New England team already gives you a better resume for this season. I am looking short term, and I kind of lean towards the Patriots. And that's all I got to say. I just think that the unless I see a completely different playbook specialized down, I know it's not, but unless I see something completely different, and it's going to be after I make my pick anyway, I'm picking Mayo as having the edge in this matchup because he was able to beat a head coach and a team that was in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Meanwhile, Miami beat Doug Peterson and the 0-4 Jacksonville Jaguars because of the fourth quarter. And New England's held a lead this year.
Yeah, I know. It just comes down to with McDaniel, and I don't want to pile on. I've done enough shows this week. He just ain't changing, folks. I know people are sitting there. He's got to change the playbook. He's going to adapt. He hasn't. If he didn't adapt in 2022 with no Tua, and if he hasn't adapted yet this year without Tua, what makes you think in the last 5 days he's going to start to adapt? He ain't changing. He is who he is. That doesn't mean he's a bad coach. That doesn't mean he'll never be a great coach. I'm just saying right now for this week, I have very little faith in Mike McDaniel. It just in a vacuum. Right now, today on October 3rd, that's my stance on this. So yeah I would have to give the edge to the Patriots coaching staff right now. And plus 2, Crossman hasn't been great. Nope. Frank Smith, I don't know what he does and how much power he has with McDaniel, but if he's sort of co-signing on this stuff, then no, that's not a good look for him. And he's been up for head coaching job.
Defensive coaching is the only the only bright spot on this team, and he's been here just as many games.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been very good so far, Weaver. I like what I've seen. Especially after halftime, he makes adjustments. Now, you would hope he comes out with his team more prepared in the first half, but he sees what is working and what's not, and he makes the adjustments at halftime, which is tough to do because those halftimes fly by. Yeah, he makes the adjustments, and in the second half of these games, they come out very prepared on that side of the ball. So I'm very pleased with Weaver, very pleased. But overall, just the coaching in general has just been poor. Prediction time. I gave my prediction earlier this week. New England 17, Miami 6. I just can't see Miami scoring 10 points or more against anybody right now. So I'm at 17-6. And again, always hope I'm wrong, but that's just where I am.
No, I go New England 17-13. I think it's one of those close games. Pick them, almost at that point. With that type of spread, that's almost like just here's your home field advantage. So New England 17-13, but could switch either way. But I don't see Miami is coming out. They got to win.
If you bet this, and I know soon we'll get to the picks.
Oh, God.
We did very good last week.
You got to be a psycho to bet this game and watch it.
They are a 1-point favorite, Miami, as of right now on DraftKings. And they were a 2.5-point favorite last week at home against the Titans. And I go, who in the right mind would lay 2.5? Who in the right mind would lay 1 point on the road? You got to be out of your out. They had 78 passing yards last week, Miami. Nope. You're going to lay a point against they could play. They could play they could play Yale. They could play Harvard. They could play Colgate. I wouldn't lay a point with them right now. That is too much. All right, before we get here to the rest of the show and the fun part of the show with the games, a big shout out to everyone listening at finheaven.com. Everyone go to finheaven.com, largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Also, a shout out to our friends at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page, run by the great, talented, very smart and handsome Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are a part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page. Every time I say that, he goes, don't say the handsome part. All the rest are fine. So I say just to get under your skin now. And also, wherever you listen to this podcast, whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Audible, Podchaser, or of course, YouTube, hit that subscribe button. I'll wait. Hit the subscribe button. Okay, you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. We have shows each and every day of the week. And, of course, on Sunday after the game, myself and Tom break it down with the post-game wrap-up show. You don't want to miss any of the episodes. And if you're watching us live right now on YouTube on Thursday, in about a half hour, at about 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Josh and Aaron, same old Dolphin show, will be live with another episode of the Same Old Dolphin Show. So stay tuned for that on the DolphinsTalk YouTube channel. All right, Bold and Bull, you were 2-4 last week, bringing your record to 6-18. So if you want to,
I should be
you want to
3-3.
petition the jury to be 3-3.
I do. So I'll let the comments decide, and then you can give me that one.
mean,
So here's
if it's
the
a
deal,
handoff,
guys.
it's not a pass.
It wasn't a handoff. It was a pass behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, that was a
I mean,
turnover
okay, it was
play.
a toss. It was a toss. It's fine. But if you guys think that Tyreek Hill, this is stupid. If you guys think Tyreek Hill had more than 6 catches last week, passing,
We only
receiving,
had 4, right? He had 4, right? Or 5? He had 4.
I think he had 5.
He had 5.
I think it was 5 last I checked.
Let's check. And if it's 4, then it's no. If it's 5,
4,
I'll just say
5,
yes.
it's a gimme. Yeah, just to move
Yeah.
along here. I'm fighting for stats here, guys.
I know you are. I don't blame you with your record right now. You should be.
Oh God, I need every help,
got it
every
right
piece
here.
of help I can get.
Box score. Here we are.
Last week, it was 4.
You have
All right, I
4.
lost.
Okay, so
It's
that's
7
a loss.
targets. That's a loss.
7
All right.
targets. But yeah. Okay, so you were back to where we were. Nice try though. Hey,
As
good
you
try.
were.
You're 2-4, which is 6-18 on the season. And each week I say I think I'm making them easier. Clearly, I'm not.
Clearly, no. And I'm not
Okay.
taking the bait either. God.
All right. Tyler Huntley throws for more than 130 passing yards. I knew it was 78 last week, but the odds of it being that bad again, I had to up it a little. So will he throw for over 130 versus 28th ranked pass defense with the Patriots?
Yes, he will. That is a
Bold.
bold prediction, and he will throw for more than 130 yards. I didn't think he was going to throw for less than 100. I knew it was going to be less than 200 last week, but I didn't think it was going to be less that bad.
Okay. Yes. The Dolphins have 2 or more sacks of Jacoby Brissett.
The Miami Dolphins will. Bold prediction. They will, because Jacoby Brissett doesn't move, and he's about as fast as Tua
True.
is, so you can catch him.
And they're hurt on the offensive line as well.
And they're hurt, and everybody's hurt on the offensive line. And I might even be so bold and say maybe Chop Robinson gets a pressure. He's not going to get a sack, but
That's
he'll
what we're
get some
down to now?
pressure.
No Jaylen Phillips. He'll be on
No
the field
Jaylen
more.
Phillips,
He'll get a
yeah.
pressure. Okay.
That's right.
Now here we go. Jaylen Waddle has more than 4 receptions.
Let's see. What is his history? I have
Someone's got to catch the ball here.
Someone's
He's
got to
gotta
catch the
throw
ball. It
for
might be
130.
Tua. It might be Tua. Jaylen Waddle. Let's see. Last week had 6 targets, 5 targets, 4 targets, and 5 targets. And you are asking me that he gets 4 catches?
4 or more receptions. 4
or more receptions. I say bold prediction because despite those target numbers, he has had 4 receptions at least in every game this season.
Okay. Jason Sanders makes more than 2 field goals.
Oh, I think that's bull. I don't know if they get that close. And when I say that close, I mean within 50.
Cross midfield.
Yeah. I mean,
Jason, you're up.
If they get to 50, just kick the damn thing. I don't know if they get that close more than 2 times. And since I already predicted them to only score 14 points or 13 points or whatever it was, I think he only gets 2. So, more than 2, I don't think so. That's bull.
Okay. 2 more left. The Dolphins defense keeps New England to 20 points or fewer.
Well, I've seen, who was it on YouTube here? Jordan Murray says bet the under.
4-2.
Yeah, I agree. Bet the under, and I don't think New England gets to 17. You also heard my prediction, or gets to 20, so you heard my prediction anyway.
You're bold.
17 points. So that is a bold prediction that I think should cash.
All right, last one. It's a Tyreek Hill one, your favorite.
Oh,
Tyreek Hill has over 60 receiving yards. No, maybe you
Tyreek
get that on
Hill,
one play if he gets lucky. Yeah.
If he gets lucky, he can have that on one play. Man, you want Jaylen Waddle to have 4 catches and Tyreek Hill to have 60 yards? You're asking a lot out of this offense.
The 28th ranked pass defense. That's why, I do put thought.
You do. However,
in this.
Tyreek Hill's history since Tua has gone down has been 23 yards, 40 yards, and 24 yards. You want 60 this week? I say bull. And if Tyreek Hill breaks it, then Miami has a better chance of winning. So I will happily make that trade-off.
All right, they are locked in. See if you can do better here and get off the schneid, as they say. Now, last week with our picks, because we were 0-4 the week before, we each do one lock, we each do one upset. This past week, we were much better. We went 3-0-1 combined. I had a push. So we were 3-0-1, each one of us. I pushed with the Chiefs because they spotted 7 and they won by 7. So for the year on the locks, you're 1-3. I am 0-3-1. But on the upset, you are 3-1 and I'm 2-2. So we're making a bit of a comeback here, and let's keep the hot streak going. So I have mine. I can always change mine. I can go first. You can go first.
You go first. I went last week. You can have it.
Okay. For the lock, and I know this makes no sense, but I just think they've been in a lot of games, and I think they're bound to win one, and they're home, and the opponent does nothing for me. Give me Jacksonville -2.5 at home against Indianapolis. I don't think Indianapolis is any good. I think Jacksonville's bound to have a week where just everything clicks for them. And if it's not week 5 at home, I don't know when it's going to be. I just think this is the week where they get their win. Historically, they've had a lot of luck sort of screwing over the Colts in big spots late in the year and stuff like that. I just think Jacksonville's going to find a way to win this week, and they'll probably win by at least a field goal. Jacksonville -2.5 over Indy is my lock.
That's the one I was actually looking at as you were describing this. So no, I have the one that's right above that on ESPN. My lock, and I'm going to ride the hot hand that's been working for me, is Washington at home -3 against the really crappy Browns. Your favorite, but Cleveland has done nothing.
I will say this. I will say, I agree. Washington's the hottest team in the league right now. What I'll say about the Browns is the past 2 weeks they played with 4 backup offensive linemen, and they've also been without their tight end and one of the wide receivers, and they're all
Amari
coming
Cooper
back
is catching hot rocks.
I know, but they're all coming back this week. All those guys this week are all coming back. So, I would probably still take Washington at home because they are playing so stinking good right now, but don't put the final dirt yet on the Brownies because they were as hurt as any team in the league, and they're all coming back this week. So I think you'll see them improved, and I think moving forward, I think they're going to be improved as well. That's a team that just had, much like Miami, a ton of injuries to start the year. Just a ton.
Well, I'm still picking Washington.
Oh, I don't blame you. I would too, because that kid's a real deal quarterback. Jane Daniels, if this keeps up, will win Rookie of the Year. He's going to win Rookie of the Year. He's that good. Okay. Upset. I can go first. You want to go first? How you want to do it?
You go first. I'm looking at one here.
I got a home dog, which I'm a little surprised you're a home dog. I thought this would be even or the spread would be the other way. Give me Houston +1 over Buffalo. Not that the Bills are bad, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Dolphins fan. I don't like the Bills. I'm just saying because I think Houston at home's damn good. Stephon Diggs, he'll say the right things. He wants some payback against the Bills. And I just think Houston at home is a tough spot for the Bills here. Give me Houston.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a loud crowd there as well. And they know that they have digs and that there have been some I don't care what you say. Those were some subtle digs at Stephon Diggs. And they're going to be out there in full force. I've been to that stadium. It gets really packed and really loud, even when they're not good, because that's what they have in Houston.
As they say, don't mess with Texas.
Don't mess with Texas. Well, I am going to mess with the defending champs. I am going to take the New Orleans Saints +5.5 on the road against New England. Prime time, Monday night, and New England has no more wide receivers. It's literally Patrick Mahomes. Right? The Chiefs. Yeah, Chiefs. It's literally Patrick Mahomes and Jason Kelce. That's all they got. So I think that New England, I keep going back to New England. I think that New Orleans, I'm just going to call them the Saints. I'm going Who Dat. We're going with the Saints +5.5. They got firepower, man. I don't care where they are. It's not snowing that I know of in Kansas City
No,
just
not
yet.
yet.
So
Yeah.
give me 5.5 points. I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Chiefs, they haven't lost, but they haven't really looked great in any one game this year.
No.
They look good, obviously. I mean, it's the Chiefs, but they haven't looked great. And the wide receiver issue, they're going to have to add a body. So, but not by Monday night, they won't. So
And it's not going to be Tyreek Hill.
No, I mean, look, if they want him, if they want him, they can.
We're going to end this right now. You cannot have him, one, because he is still one of the most productive wide receivers in the league. But also, even if you trade him, you're on the hook for $47 million next year. I read the contract articles. Miami would still have to pay $47 million off their books. So it doesn't matter. What are you giving them up for? First round pick?
Okay, here's what. No, they're not getting a first. Probably at best a second, and that'd probably be it. I want to speed around for you, and I only do this. It's the what if game. We're 1-3. No, we got 2 more games at least without our quarterback. Mm-hmm. We know what's going on here. So if we are like 1-5, 1-6, 2-7 before the trade deadline, I just want look. I know we're not going to get nothing great for these guys. We're talking 6th, 7th round picks. Mm-hmm. I want a yes or no. Would you trade them? And then I got one special one at the end. Number 1, Raheem Mostert.
Yes.
Teron Armstead.
No, because he'll retire next year anyway.
So why not trade him if you're 1-7?
Oh, all right. You take what you get. Sure. Yes.
Yeah, because you got to get the reps anyways to Patrick.
And he may not play for another 8 games. Who knows?
Exactly. Chubb, although his contract's tough to move, but you're going to cut him in the offseason because he's out after next year anyway. So even if we don't trade him, he ain't going to be here next year.
Yeah.
Here's the one. If you have no intention of re-signing Javon Holland,
there you go.
Do you trade him now?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. You're not going to get as much. If you have no
intention of re-signing him.
Right. And right now with minus that one play against Jacksonville, his stock isn't super high. And so he's not the hottest safety in the league.
He was, take him, though.
If you were going to do it in the offseason, you had a chance. Yeah, but now the stock is going down a little bit. It's your last chance
because if
you get rid of him anyway.
Because if you play the compensatory pick game, that's a pick really at the top of round 4 in 2026. And then that offseason, you can't sign anyone else because then it hurts the compensatory pick.
Right.
It slides it down to around 3 or 4 or 5. So that makes it tough. Where if you trade him late October, if your season's over, you get something in 2025, you might get a 3rd round pick or a 2nd round pick.
If you already know you're not going to meet his number, you know what his number is. If you already know we're not going to do it, get what you can.
Now here's the last one, which not a long conversation because we have the rest of the year probably talk about this. Fast forward to March. It is March 13th.
Okay.
Knowing on March 14th, you must guarantee to a $54 million through 2026. Do you eat the money, rip off the Band-Aid, 2025, let's take a cap hit, or do you guarantee $54 million to Tua and you are with him through the 2026 season?
If Tua decides to come back, they have to.
He's coming back. He's coming back.
I know. I'm saying, if he decides to come back, they have to be with him. Their wagons are hitched to Tua and McDaniel because they signed him to an extension right before the season. And so you cannot get rid of one without the other. They do not do a clean sweep of everybody. And if a guy is contemplating, or they say contemplating and getting recommendations on whether I should retire or not, and you cut him, no one will sign with you ever. And so all that goodwill with the players that you have, that is all gone. So I think they keep him. I think they hitch the wagons, but I also think they have to spend the money, and that's why they don't sign Javon Holland on a backup quarterback, whether it's Carson Wentz or whoever the heck else you want to get in here that can run some sort of part of this offense that to be the same, so you don't have to completely reinvent yourself. There you go.
Okay. Last one. If you bring him back this year, which he is coming back.
He will. Yeah.
And he gets another concussion, then are you still going to sign him through 22?
No, at that point you force him to retire. Yes. Because the PR hit is, for someone who works in PR, the PR hit then is not worth it.
No, it's not. Okay. So again, a lot of time talk about that stuff. But look, maybe they win this week and they go into the bye at 2-3, then they come out and see what happens versus the Colts. The next thing you know, 2 is there versus Arizona.
Yep.
2 is there versus the Bills. And all bets are off then. Maybe they can turn it around. But a loss here this week, I think the season's over anyways, but a loss here this week is really the final nail in the coffin when you lose back-to-back games to the Titans and the Patriots. Going
We
into
start
a bye
talking about
week.
the draft.
Yeah, then you can really start to pivot to talk about those trades at the trade deadline, draft, Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, Shadir Sanders, Cam Ward, all those. That's where the conversation goes to. But we're not there yet. Let's see what happens this Sunday. Robert, thanks so much. Be sure to follow Robert Burns on Twitter at Robert Burns TV. Follow myself on any social media at Dolphins Talk. The website's DolphinsTalk.com. Wherever you listen to this, subscribe, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, 5-star rating and a positive comment's always nice. And again, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, if you're watching us live, Dolphins Talk YouTube channel. Josh, Aaron, same old Dolphin show here. Their perspective on everything happening in the world of the Dolphins. Everyone, have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you again after a while. And folks, please don't forget, we still must put an end to highway profanity.